Hello everyone, Horseman here, and this video is going to be detailing how the Havoc Demon Hunter spec is holding out in Nighthold. This is an update from the previous video that you can find on my channel, and the purpose of this is just to kind of show you how my equipment has come along and also how my numbers have come along within the Nighthold raid. To give an idea of where we stand, we have cleared Nighthold on normal, and we are now currently up to Grand Magistrix Elisand on Heroic. So we just have those last two bosses to down before we can have that cleared out completely. And as we've been going along, we've been getting gear. And speaking of gear, let's go ahead and move into that. Okay, so in terms of legendaries, you saw me get the Delusions of Grandeur, which is absolutely phenomenal. One of the things that you want to do, especially as a Havoc Demon Hunter, is to make sure that you have Metamorphosis up as much as possible, and this definitely helps in that regard. The other legendary that I am currently using is this Cindaria, the Symbiote belt, that helps do an extra 30% damage to enemies above 90%. This is going to help out with the initial burst. You should be seeing numbers well into the millions when you start out a boss fight, and of course it will taper down over time as the fight goes along. To show you guys down here, my Twin Blades of the Deceiver are at an item level of 908. However, the current level themselves are only 47. I'm not exactly a big AP farmer, so yep, that is what it is. So I've got the Chaos Burn at level 13, and my relics right now are at an 875, 875, and 895. Now what do I got here? I got Critical Chaos in one of them, but more importantly, I've got Unleashed Demons in these other two, and I think these are great. They complement the Delusions of Grandeur very well by knocking off more time from the Metamorphosis cooldown. So this definitely helps out a lot. With 5 points in there, it reduces that cooldown by 90 seconds. So you really can't beat that. Now, of course, I mean, I would like to see other things benefit in here, but you know, I really like having that Metamorphosis up more than 1 or 2 times in the middle of one fight. So there's that. Okay, so in terms of gear, what all has changed? Well, not too much, because to be honest, right now I only have a 2 set. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not too impressed with our actual set bonuses. We got Fury Generation from all abilities is increased by 10%, yay. And that 4-piece set increases your Chaos Strike, Critical Strike chance by 10%. So, in my opinion, I mean, yes, you're going to be throwing out that Chaos Strike quite often, but I just don't think it's that much of a boost to your DPS if you get your 4 set. Sadly, I haven't had the opportunity to test that out, as I haven't gotten Elisand or Gul'dan down yet on Heroic, and RNG has not been going my way for the in normal, so that's why I do not yet have my 4-piece. Some of the gear that I have in here is still the same from Emerald Nightmare, so you'll see that, my wrists and my helmet. But I do also have some best in slots according to Ask Mr. Robot and Icy Veins for my gloves and my boots and one of my trinkets, as well as my back, my chest, and right now I'm currently using the Night Blooming Frond. Now this just is better than what anything else that I got right now, but I've also got this item, the Draught of Souls, which is okay, but I honestly don't like that nearly as much. What we got there is, yes, it does give quite a bit of haste, and as you can see, my haste is fairly low, but it kind of takes you away from being able to, from control of your character to do a fairly good amount of damage. But to me, I just don't feel that it's worth it, especially since it's not necessarily AoE, so it only really benefits single target. Speaking of single target, I will say that the build that I'm using right now is very nice for single target kills, and I'll be showing you the numbers here in a little bit through our logs to kind of give you an idea as to where I stand. Now, again, I'm not the best. I'm a casual gamer, But if you're having any problems, hopefully this will get you on track. If you're better than I am, that's great. You know, throw a couple of some constructive criticism, and I will be more than happy to take that into consideration. As such, in my previous video, someone had suggested to take First Blood over Chaos Cleave, and it has done me a lot of good. Now, granted, I'd probably use Chaos Cleave in more AoE type of situations, such as bosses where I may have 1 or 2 adds, but if I were going to have more adds than that, then it has been said that the demonic build is going to be better for that, and that's going to look like this. I am not good at this build. I have tried it on Scorpion, and I have always ranked in a very low, and my damage has been shite. Now, I know that this is just a matter of me getting used to it, I'm sure, but one of the things I do like about it is this demonic ability. After you use your eye beam, it's very nice when you can bust out another 8-second long metamorphosis. Again, keeping that metamorphosis up is key, but one of the things I don't like about it is the fact that you don't get a lot of that initial burst in there, and it's not a very bursty type of build. It doesn't do very good to single targets, and if you don't have a nice little stream of adds, you're not going to be seeing a whole lot of damage in that end. Me, personally, I'm better at my other build, and so if I would do any type of adjustment to my build, I'd probably just take Chaos Cleave rather than going to demonic form, at least until I get some more practice with it. Now, one of the nice things, if I were to use the demonic build, I'd probably swap out my belt here from Emerald Nightmare, because of the fact that I got the Radon's Cascading Eyes, which the remaining cooldown on Eye Beam is reduced by 0.3 seconds each time it deals a critical strike, which is quite a bit. At one point in time, especially depending on how many adds that I'm hitting, during the Scorpion fight, I hit Eye Beam only to turn around and be able to use Eye Beam once again. So that was fantastic. Okay, so what kind of numbers am I putting out? Well, let me show you. Alright folks, here I'm going to go ahead and go through each of the fights of Nighthold, and to give you a quick rundown as far as what type of numbers to expect during the raid. This is Heroic. This was just my last week fights, so I was having kind of a rough week, so bear with me here. Anyway, so as you can see here on this chart, I was doing about 581,000 points of DPS, and if you look at the rundown of how the DPS is going, spike really big, kind of level out, spike, crescendo, and then lull down towards the end. Croesus, being a single target fight, I should have been doing a whole lot better. Normally, I rank much higher up here. I'm usually either 1 or 2. What happened here was, well, I hit that magical Fell Rush button right off the edge of the bridge, so. And you can see that in my numbers itself. You can see here, spiked, lulled, and then dead. Came right back up. So that's what happened there. Okay, the next one is Star Augur. Very fun fight. It did about 482,000. I usually do a little bit more than this on during all of our attempts. What happened here was I got fell ejection twice and right back to back, so that left me out of the fight for about 10 to 15 seconds, and it was very frustrating. There was also I got the icy ejection as well, which caused me to get off the boss for a bit. So I mean that's the mechanics, and your numbers are going to fluctuate, so this is just what mine were for this particular fight in this particular instance. It was frustrating because I know I normally get a little bit higher than this, but that wasn't the case during this week's attempt. So So this is what we're looking at here. Big spike. And then here you can kind of see where that leveled off. Ended up getting that fell ejection for a bit there. Spellblade Alorial is another very fun fight. It's ad intensive, and as a melee, especially during the icy phase, you're going to be trying to do some ice skating, and it gets a little frustrating. Sometimes you get away from the ads and the boss, and then you don't end up doing as much damage as you'd like to, and of course you can't do things like eye beam because then you'll get frozen. And then you have the fire guys. Your main focus there is to make sure that you interrupt, so you're not really doing a whole lot of focus on actual damage there. But the big kicker here was that I goofed during the arcane ad phase, and I had a tab target fail, so you should see this number go up in the future. This is what that looks like. Okay, Trilliax is one of my favorites. Get some pretty consistent DPS on this fight because it is a single target fight, and more often than not, our range go ahead and get the cakes and the feasts. So I don't necessarily have to worry about doing anything but staying on the boss's butt. And that's fantastic. We just have a very good raid makeup for that. We have enough ranged to be able to carry that out. Of course, there are times where I do have to get cake, and that's not necessarily an issue. One beautiful things about the Havoc Demon Hunter is be able to fell rush to your target and get right on back just as quickly. You can combine it with Fellblade to get there really quick. Alright, so I did about 482,000. And aside from the initial spike, which is partly due to the legendary, you're going to see it fairly consistent across the board. Chronomatic Anomaly is also another one of those single target fights, and I say single target because once again we have enough range to be able to handle the ads. And not to mention, but we also have the ability to go ahead and bust all of our healing cooldowns during the power overwhelming phase. That enabled us to get the boss down to about 25% before clicking that button and taking that big slow debuff. So that's why you see just a little bit higher damage output here. All right. Again, aside from the spikes from buffs that I'm getting and my cooldowns, it's fairly consistent across the board. Alright, the last one is the Bane of My Existence. I have not yet mastered the Art of Scorpion. You'd think, oh, it's AoEs, come on, you can figure it out. Yeah, sure. You're absolutely right, I should be able to. I was trying to use the demonic build, and I haven't quite mastered it yet. I'm not very good at it. So that's why you see such fluctuation in numbers, and even with this right here, I mean, you can see every time the ads come out. And I just did not do a good job. I mean, that's the bottom line. I need to master that build so that way I can do better. I may just go with Chaos Cleave as opposed to First Blood in order to help with that, because I'm already good with that build. So, but time will tell. Hold on. This is what my actual numbers look. You got a lot of peaks, you got a lot of valleys, and that came and went along with the ad deployments. Alright, next I'm just going to go ahead and train on a dummy, just so that way you can see, my overall rotation, how I do things. I'm not going to make it too much longer. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and once again show you my rotation, but to give you an idea as to what I'm doing here is that I definitely prioritize Blade Dance due to First Blood and Chaos Strike, and of course as my Fury goes down I want to make sure I get some Fell Blades in there. One beautiful thing with the 2-piece is that I do get some Fury generation from all abilities is increased by 10%, so I will get more in those regards. I'm not going to be focusing too much on the I-beam on single targets, and but if there are of course multiple ads, I'm going to make sure I get that in there. One of the main sources for the initial burst of DPS is using the Metamorphosis in conjunction with Nemesis and Chaos Blades, as well as the Synodaria, the Symbiote. So all those combined get some pretty decent numbers. Alright, let's go ahead and do a quick run through on this dummy.
Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and train on a dummy, just so that way you can see, my overall rotation, how I do things. I'm just going to go ahead and
Alright, so that's really it there. I had a pretty good spike there, and then it leveled down to about 715, and of course, as time goes on, it's going to continue to mellow down. When there's a lot of movement involved, of course, you're going to see that if you're not keeping up with what you're doing, then you're going to see that mellow out even more. During those rotations, you saw that I was focusing on my Blade Dance as well as my Chaos Strike, getting my Fury of the Illidari on there on cooldown, but at the same time, you're just wanting to make sure that the boss is not moving. You know, you don't want to waste any of that time that you're doing your Fury of the Illidari. For fillers, I may pop an Eye Beam, my Throw Glaive, and my Fell Rushes. Since I'm not worried about the momentum buff, I'm not necessarily doing my Fell Rush because, again, Fell Rushes take me off of the boss and I'm not doing my auto attacks, thereby not getting in Fury. So it's not necessarily a good idea to continuously do Fell Rush just because it's up. If you do, it's a good idea to either make sure that you have another Fell Rush available or make sure that your Fell Blade is available so that you can get back very, very, very quick. Alright? Okay, so, that's really about it. That's all I'm going to be talking about today. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section below. If you thought this video was informative, please throw it a like and subscribe for more as I continue my progress through Nighthold. Alright, until next time, Horseman out.